And I'm super happy she's here. Not only does she have a new report from Experian that is this is a little concerning to me, and I'm sure it is to them, but also going to tell us a little bit about her own personal credit situation. Christina Roman from Experian is here. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. I was so excited when I got the invite.
Well, I absolutely love it, Christina, when people that, hey, it's Experian, you guys are the pros, but you've been very open about the fact that you yourself had credit issues. You weren't a pro at this at the beginning. Tell us about Christina Roman and credit.
Oh my goodness. Christina Roman in credit in her 20s was a hot mess. That's what I would describe myself.
That was
You
Joe
know,
Saul-Sehy too.
it was the wild west of credit for me because growing up my parents always told me like avoid credit. Credit is the devil rather than giving me the tools to use credit properly. And so when inevitably I got a credit card, I didn't know how to properly manage it. And so what happened is I really wanted an Apple computer right out of college. I had gone to school for journalism and I all throughout college I had used a Mac computer. And so I wanted to buy one right out of college. And I applied for a credit card to purchase that computer, but I had never had access to that much money. I got approved. I'd never had access to $1,500 at one time. And so rather than going and buying that computer, I went on a shopping spree.
It's party
And I
time.
thought, well, I got approved for like 12 months, 0% interest. That means I don't have to pay it for 12 months. So, of course, I'll have a job and I'll pay it off. I had no idea that that didn't mean I didn't have to pay it for 12 months. That just meant I wasn't going to have to pay interest for 12 months. So I missed payments. I got myself in a huge mess. And I thought the best way to get out of this mess is to apply for another credit card
Of
and,
course.
figure out. So it was a cycle, a vicious cycle of poor decisions until I started to get phone calls from collectors and I actually developed a relationship with a talking relationship with one of the collectors. Her name was Simone. And she was the one that actually was like, look, this is how your credit behavior is impacting your overall credit history. And she really opened my eyes to all of the things that my behaviors were negatively doing to my credit. And so that was a huge eye-opening moment for me. And then also when I went to apply for a car and I didn't get approved for anything under a 19% interest rate, that was another huge eye-opening moment for me. So I learned the hard way, but the great thing is credit can always, rebound with positive behaviors. And so I learned how to better manage my credit. And I'm excited now to be able to share that information with people.
But you know what's funny, Christina, is that obviously so many people, well, heck, you're at Experian and this happened to you. We just spoke with Miss Be Helpful, Yanali Espinal, who had this great analogy about, she did well in school because she had a syllabus.
Yes.
Very few people get a syllabus. I didn't have one. You didn't have one when it came to our credit. And it's so important. We're going to use our credit all the time. In fact, I think if my notes are correct, you went from credit disaster to just purchasing a house.
Yes. Yes. I just purchased a house in 2020, and having worked so hard to rebuild my credit, it actually enabled me to take advantage of a 2%, 2.5% interest rate,
Yeah, wow.
which like I feel so blessed because I had that information and I went on that journey to repair my credit and then take to be able to use it to then take advantage of an opportunity like a super low interest rate when the time was right. So that's one of the benefits of having good credit and really focusing on your credit is that it can enable you to jump on opportunities when they become available. Now right now people are concerned about the interest rates for housing, so they're not super comfortable with purchasing a house right now, but just focusing on your credit, we're finding that a lot of people want that knowledge so that they can then be ready to jump on the next best opportunity when it comes their way.
Well, and we're going to talk about kind of building that education system and certainly the tools that you guys have at Experian to help people with that. One of the things I love that you said though is that you got this person Simone in your corner. To have somebody in your corner with the heart of a teacher is a really cool first step. But really, let's talk about repairing your credit. What did you do? What did you learn that actually made you turn the corner to get to from horrible credit like mine was to good credit?
Yeah. So one of the things I realized that I was doing was I was burying my head in the sand, right? I was so scared because I had all of this debt and I knew it was looming over me. I was getting phone calls. And one of the things that I did that really helped me was I took a hard look at what my situation was with credit. I sat down with all of my bills and I said, okay, this is how much I owe to this credit card. This is the interest rate. And actually, your credit bill does break down, like if you can pay this amount of money, you can pay it off in X number of years. Now, I also sought out resources online for how to reduce credit card debt. And one of the resources talked about a credit repayment calculator that calculated your interest rate. And if I pay this much, how soon can I pay it off? And so I started to create a plan. Now, the good thing is there are a lot more tools available today than there were back when I was first starting this journey. And so when I say take a holistic look at your current credit picture, I think one of the best ways to do that is actually to get your credit report. And so you can get your credit
First
report
thing.
from, yes, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax actually for free at annualcreditreport.com. And you can get it for free weekly through 2023, or you can use like a credit monitoring service like Experian's free monthly monitoring service, and that will give you access to Experian's credit report as well as your FICO score. So you'll get to see that information. You'll get to see when you get that FICO score what factors are negatively impacting your credit score and what factors are helping your credit score. So
I
that
like
could
that.
be a really good place to start.
No, that's fantastic. And I love seeing it in black and white. You know, it's going to be ugly for a lot of us. It was ugly for me. And I think
Mm-hmm.
until you stare that ugliness in the face and see exactly where it is, you
Yes.
don't, it's impossible. It's impossible to fight it. What is the number one thing people can do to improve their credit score? What's the biggest determinant of improving a credit score?
Making your payments on time. Your payment history is the number one factor in your credit score. So even if all you can make is that minimum payment until you can get in a cycle where you can start to really tackle that debt, make those minimum payments. If you can pay more, even better, because then you'll pay it off even faster. So make those payments on time every single month. Know your payment dates, even if you have to, set reminders, if you set auto pay to ensure that you're always making those payments. And then come up with a plan, because the second factor impacting your credit score is your credit utilization. So if you're carrying a lot of debt right now, you want to come up with a plan to help you reduce that debt. So that way you'll have your utilization also working in your favor. And so there's a lot of great methods for doing this. Some popular methods are the snowball method and the avalanche method. And so with the avalanche method, you're tackling your highest interest rate credit card first, while still making your minimum payments on all of your other credit cards. And that just helps you over time to pay less when you're paying off your debt. And then they have the snowball method where you tackle your smallest balance first and you kind of build momentum and excitement toward paying off that credit card debt. And then you tackle the next highest balance and so on and so forth until you're out of debt. Now, it's really important while you're doing this that you also don't start to reuse those credit cards that you just paid off, because then you're again putting yourself in that vicious cycle. So make sure that you're smart with credit. You're only making small charges and paying them off each month. I say your grocery bill, your gas bill, just right now while you're trying to get out of debt.
Man, I'm glad you mentioned that because, the credit is kind of the leaves where your spending pattern is truly the root. And so learning how to take control of credit, that's for me. I had to create a cash lifestyle for a while
Mm-hmm.
where that helped me so much. And then I went back to credit on a much slower basis and then paid my bill off in full. Then I was able to take advantage of reward programs instead of them taking advantage of
Yes.
me and do and do all these different things. I wanted to ask you about which one you use. Did you use the avalanche method? Did you use the snowball? Because I kind of used a combo of the two. I started off with the snowball
Exactly.
to get excited, and then I switched over to highest interest rates once I got rolling.
Exactly. I actually did the exact same thing,
Did you?
Joe, because it feels easier to tackle that smallest balance. It's that momentum. You're like, okay, I did it. I got that one out of the way. Now let's go to the next one. And you feel like you can put even more toward that because now you don't have that balance that you're paying every single month. So yeah, it was a combination of both. And honestly, it's do whatever keeps you motivated to continue on that debt payoff journey, right? Because if if you're constantly paying and you're not seeing your balances reduce and you feel like you're not doing anything, you're not impacting your debt at all, then it could feel overwhelming, and it could feel like, why am I even doing this, to
Yeah.
begin with, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really about finding what keeps you the most motivated.
Man, you and I both had that feeling. I remember those days, and not fondly, where I was just, I truly didn't know where to turn. It was just I felt one step at a time, just one step at a time. And you
Yes.
can get there and laugh about it now, like Christina and I are right now. Let's get to
Yes.
this study, because you've got some information. This is a study of more than 2,000 millennials and Gen Z consumers. Let's talk about what you guys studied. You took a look at kind of their overall outlook, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, so we looked at millennial and Gen Z because they're going to be the biggest drivers of the economy moving forward. And so we wanted to get an idea of how current events and news is impacting their overall financial health. And what we found is that 70% of consumers feel that the current environment is hurting their ability to be financially independent. And really, what we're seeing this trend that they really are seeking out resources for managing their financial health. They want to know how to better manage, their money and their credit, because they realize that credit is going to be a big part of their future. And I think it makes a lot of sense to me, because when so many factors are out of your control, the one you want to focus on the one thing that you can control, and
Yeah.
that is how you manage your money, right? So that was a cycle that was one of the trends that we saw in the study. And
Well, and
so
if we
that
do,
really, oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
and if we don't feel comfortable with things going on with our job, with the economy, with external factors, I mean, the first thing to do, grab a hold of your credit, build an emergency fund,
Yes.
because if the seas are stormy, you should start putting up, I don't know the analogy, put up sandbags. I don't know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's so important. My mom, she would tell me, always have enough to at least cover your insurance deductibles, right? So that was one way that I started to look at it. And then other people say have 3 to 6 months of your income in a savings account. Now, to me, when I hear that number, that could be overwhelming. I say, okay, just get started. One of the stats that floats around frequently is that most people don't have enough money in their savings account to cover a $500 expense, right? So
Right.
that was
Yeah.
always my goal. Get to that $500 threshold, and then, keep building on that. So I think it's really important to focus on that emergency savings. And if you're overwhelmed by the 3 to 6 months of savings, start small, and then, build. Every little bit counts toward that emergency fund.
Did you guys look at all at which part of this economic climate people are most worried about? Is it the job situation and uncertainty there? Is it interest rates going up, like you mentioned earlier? Is there a certain piece that people are really worried about?
I think for this study, it was news about layoffs
Yeah.
and just the overall environment in general.
Okay. Yeah. And if you think you're going to lose your job, there it is. I mean, right there, make sure you've got resources
Yes,
to go back on.
yes, and also contacting your lenders is so important. If you feel like you can't make a payment, make sure that you contact your lenders and let them know about your situation.
But one piece of this study shows that more than 1 in 4 don't feel optimistic about their current financial situation. I was in that spot. You were in that spot. Step one for those people.
Step one for those people is to get active. Really take a hard look at your financial situation, make a budget that you can live within, a budget that allows you to save. So that's really important, is having that budget, because it tells you how much is coming in, how much is going out, and it actually helps you to identify where you can trim some of the fat on your spending. So do you have a ton of subscriptions that you can maybe start to get rid of right now, just until we get through this economic environment? Are there other ways that you could save? Can you reduce your grocery bill? Can you reduce any of your other bills? So that's a great place to start, is set that budget, understand where your money is going every single month, and identify those ways that you can eliminate some spending to help you to save a little bit more.
I like that advice so much, Christina, because I feel like so many people get wrapped up in the headlines. They get wrapped up on, you and I have said the word economic environment, the phrase economic environment about 30 times already. We get wrapped up in that. And yet your advice was purely almost to ignore that and focus on you. And I feel
Yes.
like when I focus on me and what I can do, I get much more optimistic than if I focus on the
Exactly.
headline of the day, because the headlines are a disaster.
Yeah, yeah. And we found that actually 75% said they would feel more optimistic if they really understood how their personal finances worked. And that just starts with getting active. Because once you start to get active with your finances, you also become curious naturally, right? So you're going to start researching, okay, I want to build a budget. How do I build a budget? Okay, I want to pay down my debt. What are some best methods for paying down your debt? And so you start to do that research and you become empowered, right? And I want to also share that we have a ton of resources for anybody that's looking how to manage their debt or manage their credit. Experian really believes in financial power for all. And so we have a lot of blog posts about just about every topic on credit. So as you're getting curious about your finances and you're wanting to be more financially empowered, I encourage you to seek out those kind of resources. And actually, it's funny, Joe, I was telling Amanda when she first presented this opportunity, Stacking Benjamins was one of the first podcasts that I listened to when I was in my payoff journey. And I remember when I saw you at FinCon, I was so excited and almost like starstruck because I had listened to you on so many drives into Experian. I had 45-minute long drives, and so I wanted to learn about money. And Stacking Benjamins was one of the podcasts that really helped me do that.
And you actually learned something listening to our show.
Yes,
What's up with
and it
that?
was fun. That was what was best about it. It was fun.
Well, let's talk about fun, because I know you guys at Experian have lots of fun. And I know that you also have lots of cool resources. Where do we send people so they can learn more to start taking charge?
Yeah, go to Experian.com. We have our free credit monitoring app there that you can use. And again, that gives you your FICO score, as well as the factors that are benefiting or hurting your score. I also want to shout out Experian Boost, which is a great way for consumers to add their positive rent, utility, streaming service payments to their credit report to give their score a bit of a boost. And then if they're just wanting to learn how to build credit, Experian Go is a great program that can help anybody that's not yet in the credit cycle build credit on their terms. So those are three wonderful products that we have available to help consumers. And then check out our Ask Experian blog. And then we're still on Credit Chat every single Wednesday on Twitter at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. So we cover a different financial topic every single week. And next week, we're going to talk about having a financial check-in. So
Oh,
you can
cool.
also see us on Twitter there.
I love that. And you know what? The people that go to those Experian credit chats are always, it's great to have that surround sound. I mean, you talked about Simone at the front end, who is a fantastic teacher, and then having just the right people in your corner and following the right people. I think on social media, man, when I started
Yes.
cleaning up my social media profile and getting rid of some of the negativity and just focusing on the positive people, that changed I don't know, it could change your whole day. Change your,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people need to do that on Twitter right now.
I
So,
agree.
yes.
Yeah. And people that are longtime listeners to the show know that we've been a fan of Boost for a while because of the fact that I just never understood, Christina, why that's not part of the credit report anyway. And obviously it's not your fault or TransUnion or Equifax's fault. It's the vendors on those end have to be willing to report, and that makes it difficult. So the fact that you guys are
Hmm.
able to pull that off can really, and rightfully so, make people's credit scores more reflect how responsible they truly are.
Yeah, and that was something that we were hearing from people. Even when I started there in 2017, it was like, wait, but I pay my cell phone bill every single month. Why is that not a factor? Why do I have to take on credit card debt? And you don't have to take on credit card debt. If you have a credit card and you use it wisely, that can go toward building your credit. But people often associate credit and debt, and they don't have to be one and the same. But this tool really made it so that they don't even have to use any kind of credit card debt to help to boost their score. It's just using those payments that they make every single month to benefit them.
We'll link to all the resources Christina talked about on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. Christina, it's about time we got this done. Thank you for helping our stackers get better with their credit. And for telling your story. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
That was it, guys. You'll hear that on the podcast later. Christina, high five.
High five. Thank you so much, Joe. I can't thank you enough for having me here.
Well, let's see. I got to say, while people get their questions together, if you're on YouTube and you got a question about your credit, about credit scores, about any of the Experian programs we talked about, like Boost or Go, feel free to bring those on because we have Christina here for a few more minutes. While we're waiting, by the way, I want to say, we've got here on Fireside, we've got Webb and Havy and we've got Kate, Karen, Amanda is here. Glad you guys are here with us. But Webb, I wanted to point to you because Webb has a picture. Do you see Webb? The icon has like two money eyes and a money tongue. And I didn't even know that one existed.
I don't see that one. Where is that? Oh,
No,
yes, I see it. Oh, wow,
to me,
that's so cool.
to me, it's on the far left. I've never seen that. That's awesome. They're like got money
Yeah.
coming out their eyes and it's almost like, I don't know. Did you ever see that E-Trade commercial? The one where they're bringing the patient in and they're like, he's got money coming out of every orifice of his body.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one.
He's got money
But
coming out his wazoo. That was the
I
commercial.
love that. I
Yes.
love
What's wrong
that.
with him? He's got money coming out his wazoo. And at the time it was because he uses E-Trade, but what was I think it was a Super Bowl commercial. All right. Anybody have some questions for Christina? We've got guys on YouTube, Kate or Tina. You guys want to give me an update on what's going on over there? If we've got any comments over there, it takes them a couple minutes, by the way, on YouTube to see where we're at.
Oh, yeah. I remember the days of simulcasting, trying to figure out, where everything's coming from. You got things coming at you from everywhere.
What's it? What kind of things did you see different during the pandemic with people and their credit versus now? Let me ask you that question because I'm very curious about that.
Um, Things that I think a lot of people actually started to really pay down their credit card balances. We saw a lot of positive behaviors in that sense because, they were having a little bit of extra money come their way. So we saw balances start to go down a little bit. Now we are seeing balances rise a little bit more, but consumers are still making their payments on time every month. So they're not defaulting. So still in a very good place. But I think during that pandemic, we started to see people were home. They weren't really going out. So they had a lot of money that they could put toward their debt. So we saw that start to be reduced.
I was really happy to see that, by the way, because I'm not a pessimistic person, but when it comes to people doing the right thing with their money, I generally am. After just having been a financial planner for a long time, I haven't been for a long time, but during that time, I'm like, we all know how to do the wrong thing with money all the time. And when the pandemic hit and everybody's doing the right thing with money, I was like, my faith in humanity was partially restored.
Right. Yeah. It's that fear of like the unknown of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? I better get myself in the best position possible. And to those that did it, like, my husband and I, we really we had a little bit of debt left over and we really wanted to save for a house. Every dollar that we had left over during the pandemic, anything we got went toward either house savings or reducing debt. And that's what really helped us to buy our house or to be ready to buy our house when we did.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fabulous. And it makes sense that people are out now. So they're going to be spending a little bit more money, but also I think aren't there more credit lines open to people, especially people that are new to the credit game? Like I felt like banks during the pandemic kind of shut that down and banks are kind of opening things up to people that might need credit a little more.
Yeah. That definitely is the case. And, it's really important for when people are researching this or when they're starting to use credit that they look at those terms and that they look at those interest rates and that they make sure that they're not just applying for credit willy-nilly because, that's also a factor that could impact your credit score. So credit applications or credit inquiries could impact your credit score. So it's really important that if you want to apply for credit, that you're doing so responsibly and that you're making sure that it's a credit card that's going to work for you. Maybe offer some rewards to your point earlier and benefit you.
Yeah. We just have a comment from Chris Luger at Heavy Metal Money. I don't know if you know Chris, awesome guy up in Minneapolis, says thank you. And I don't think we have any questions. So that's good, but we got to stir the pot a little bit before next week. So we're going to have Christina next Thursday, I think. Next Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, next Thursday.
next Thursday with us on Instagram. So guys, join us on Instagram, and I expect you to ask a ton of questions. Make Christina sweat is going to be the promo.
Oh gosh. Okay, I'll be ready. I'll be ready.